There was some news today from the league meetings. The Lions withdrew their proposal to reseed the NFL playoffs. We talked about this yesterday on the show. The big news will be forthcoming here shortly on the Tush Push, which really isn't just about the Tush Push anymore. We talked about that yesterday. But the Lions withdrew their proposal to reseed the NFL playoffs. Mark Maskey had told us the other day on the air that he did not think that that would get passed and believes that when we get to an 18-game regular season, that the discussion about the playoffs seeding system will then have, sorry, down the wrong pipe there. Yeah, he can get it together. Anyway, so yeah, the seating system being pulled, so we're going to have the normal system. There you go. Need some water. Go ahead and talk, Max, for a minute.
Yeah, sure. This has happened before. I was doing a show with Toby one morning. I think it was a holiday, and the exact same thing happened, and he just started choking for 5 solid minutes. I was almost worried that we had to throw it a break, but how you feeling? You all right? Taking some deep breaths?
I don't know. I just had some water go down the wrong pipe.
Yeah.
But anyway, real quickly, though, I did want to read this one part. Apparently, Mike Tomlin was the biggest naysayer on the seating system. He said the following: I'm a division purist, and to be quite honest with you, I love the rivalries that are division play. I love the structure of our scheduling that highlights it. I just categorized myself as a division purist. Nothing's going to change about the divisions. Nothing at all will change about the divisions. The NFL will never mess with the divisional structure. Because of what Mike Tomlin loves, we all love it. We're all division purists for the most part. The rivalries in the NFL are a big part of the game and the history of the game. That's not what the rule is. The rule isn't doing away with the division. Sometimes I honestly wonder, like, is anybody capable of sitting down with him and saying, yeah, this isn't a rule to do away with the divisions, coach. The divisions are still going to matter. You're still going to play teams twice a year. You're still going to have the rivalries. The only thing it changes is that if you win the division, you won't be guaranteed a home playoff game. That's it. But anyway, Detroit pulled the proposal, and Maskey pretty much predicted this the other day, that it wasn't going to pass and that they'll probably pass it when we get to an 18-game schedule. They did approve the proposed alignment on onside kicks, and I believe that means you can actually be a yard back to get a slight head start, and they think that might increase the percentage of success rate on onside kicks. A minor sort of thing. We're all waiting on the tush push. With that said, let's continue with the running back conversation. And we will do so, I promise. JYD, John, Kurt, Anthony, Owen, everybody on hold, stay there. Is Washington's running back room good enough for a team that views itself as a Super Bowl contending team? If the answer is no, who do you want them to go get? What would you do about it? Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980, the team980.com. We're free and live on the Odyssey app. From Brian. Brian says, you forgot to mention the Cowboys and Giants running backs rooms are better than ours. I'm a big Tyrone Tracy fan. I think he's got a chance to be a really good back. So I tend to agree with that one. They also have Devin Singletary, and they drafted Cam Scatterbo, a player that Merrill Hodge loves. The Cowboys running back room has completely changed. Rico Dowdle moved on. They've got Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, and they drafted Jaden Blue out of Texas. So, yeah, I love Javonte Williams. He's just never been able to stay healthy. You know, he was a second-round pick in 22 out of North Carolina. They had the two backs get selected out of North Carolina, both in that same draft. And he's been in Denver, and he's had a couple of good, games, but he just never seems to be healthy. So, young back, though, talented back. That might be right. You might be right. Dallas, the Giants, and the Eagles all may have better running back rooms than Washington. But what I said earlier was when you view the NFC contending teams, Philly, Detroit, Barkley, Gibbs, the Rams with Kyron Williams, he's certainly better than anybody we have. You even want to go to sort of those next level of contenders. Well, you could throw McCaffrey with the 49ers in there, but you could go Josh Jacobs in Green Bay, Bucky Irving in Tampa. The back situation that they have in Seattle is a good one when healthy. Aaron Jones in Minnesota. Chicago, DeAndre Swift came in here and averaged over 7 yards a carry and had a back-breaking touchdown run that would have been the play of the game had it not been for the Hail Mary. Washington's running back room is bottom level in the NFC. And again, I want to make this clear. I really like Eckler when he's healthy. I think Eckler was a dynamic back for them last year. I think he was excellent for them when he was healthy. But 2 concussions and one short of probably, he's going to be out. I don't know how long. You just, hope that everything works out. And then Brian Robinson Jr.'s availability and his consistency for sure. All right. Running backs in Washington, are they good enough? Is this running back room good enough for a Super Bowl contending team? And if not, what would you do about it? JYD, go ahead.
How you doing, Kevin?
I'm well.
Basically what I would do is I like Chub or whatever, and I would bring him in, on a low cost deal. But also you have to look at it to say, look at what was it our offensive line could have been better, and also, we also sometimes are we leaving yards all on the field? Are we doing the best that we can at getting every yard that we can get or whatever? That's the way I look at it, because Anthony Lynn is our running back coordinator. He puts the running game thing together, I believe. Whatever. So
yeah,
but the running back room can improve, but we also have to look at it from other angles, such as sometimes teams don't run as well out of the gun. Always.
Well,
I'm an old
almost every
guy.
team's in the gun now for the
majority. But sometimes teams do not run well out of the gun, even though everybody is doing it. Just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean
Saquon Barkley runs pretty well out of the gun.
Well, yeah, but then also when you see
Derrick Henry runs pretty well out of the gun.
Everybody in our division has a problem with their running game, except for right now Philadelphia.
Yeah,
but because
guy
the
just
Giants,
had one of the great seasons in the history of the game. Yeah,
right. The Giants running backs put the ball on the ground. As good as the guy Tracy is,
I think he's good.
He has a fumbling problem.
Yep.
Scatterbo had a fumbling problem.
Right.
So you when you look at it, whatever, we just need to find, even if we do not bring in Chub or Dobbins, we're going to have to make do. We can do better with our guys, and
yeah.
sometimes you have.
Look, here's what I don't
sometimes you
want.
can't be
JYD,
crying
thanks for
like
the call as always. What I don't want is I don't want Jaden Daniels to be our leading rusher in 10 games next year. I don't think that's, I don't think that's the best way to go. I think he's going to be the leading rusher in several games. 10 is probably 4 too many. Out of 17 games, if he's the leading rusher in 6 of those games, that's fine. I also want to see the running backs benefit from Jaden being a run threat. Just like Derrick Henry, not that Derrick Henry's not a great back. We understand that he is. But did anybody see that season coming from him last year? No. But one of the reasons is what Lamar is as a run threat. Saquon Barkley's got a quarterback who's a run threat. All of those option style plays, we saw it beginning in 2012 with Alfred Morris and how he benefited from Robert being a run threat. And I want to see our backs benefit from that. And some of that can be offensive line and some of that can be quarterback decision-making. But it would be great to have a dynamic back, an explosive back standing next to Jaden. Debo is a physical back, and he's going to gain yards, and he's going to be in the backfield. I could certainly see 5 to 7 carries a game for Debo Samuel in 2025. Let's go to Anthony. Anthony, thanks for holding. Go ahead.
No problem. See, part of the problem is everyone wants an elite back, and there's only a finite number of elite personnel for each position. And this isn't 1990. This isn't pre-1994 where you could just spend a boatload of money and go sign Wilbur Marshall or whoever else was a free agent at the time. There's a reason, other than the veteran preference, there's a reason Chub and Dobbins are out there right now.
Yep.
How many different teams has Dobbins been on?
Well, 2. Last year, the Chargers was his second team. Yeah.
And Chubb
had just
one devastating injury. Right, but Chubb had one devastating injury and then came right back and got another devastating injury.
He's had both of them have a long litany of injury, situations, and they're recent.
Right. So that's part of the reason they're out there.
Yeah,
you can kick the tires on them, but do you want to hang your hat on them being bell cows? See, that's the issue.
I just
right
know
there.
they could be. See, Anthony, what I would say is I know they could be more so than any back that's on the roster, but I understand that there's great risk. And so I'm not the medical person. I just would hope that Washington would continue to think in terms of upgrading their running back room, which would certainly, I think, result in at least a look-see on both of them.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but see, the problem with that is even if they get the medical clearance, there's still the potentiality,
of course,
to be right back in the same boat again.
Just like there is with Brian Robinson Jr. and Eckler heading into the season.
Right, but see, I'm of the belief that it was more offensive line than the running backs.
Yep.
I mean, because the inside players, they get beat with quickness all the time. Allegretti, the other guard, and Cosby, they get a swim move done against them, and they're automatically beat. So that was, in my opinion, that was more of the problem than the actual running backs.
Okay. Appreciate it as always, Anthony. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Owen. Owen's calling from Dallas. Owen, what do you say?
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Ideally, yes, we need a new bell cow in the room. I mean, to be honest, the point that has kind of already passed with the draft and the height of free agency. But I think our offense kind of did a complete disservice to Brian Robinson. I just don't think he's a zone running back. And I can't tell you how many times I'm screaming at the TV last year, watching him take snaps out of shotgun. I think the last caller talked about this a little bit, but
they run duo and gap
Cliff
out of shotgun too. It's not the only thing.
Yeah, I mean, the running game did have success early in the season. I do admit that. I just think, Brian Robinson, he's a downhill runner. I don't think he has that quick burst from shotgun to really burst into the gap. I just think that our offense could scheme up something a little bit better for him. I don't think it's all on Brian Robinson. I mean, I know he was a little inconsistent throughout the year, especially towards the back half. But hey, I'm putting this on offense and Cliff to scheme something up better, because I'll be honest, this is probably going to be our bell cow. I don't think J.K. Dobbins is really going to take the ropes here if we do sign him, but I'm putting this a lot more on our offensive scheme than Brian Robinson right now.
All right. I mean, look, Brian Robinson had some good games last year. When he was healthy, he had some really good games. I think there were games in which he absolutely benefited from having a dual threat quarterback standing next to him. The game that he was really, where did he rip off that big 50-yard run early in the game? Was that Tennessee or Arizona? Tennessee. He had some good games last year. I think he's a good back. I don't think he's slow. Yeah. I don't think he's non-explosive. I think he's very good yards after contact. I think he proved in 2023 that he can actually catch the ball better than anybody thought he could out of the backfield, even though that wasn't necessarily the emphasis last year. And if they end up with Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler, along with Debo as, a weapon occasionally used as a running back as well, I think they're going to be okay. I just think going into this offseason, I was hoping that they were going to aim much bigger and land on something with much greater sort of bell cow potential. And I thought the draft presented opportunities for that, but they went with best player available on their board. And by the time they got to the 7th round, they took a guy. We'll see. I mean, maybe he is the guy. Maybe we'll see the first 7th rounder since Pacheco be a real factor in an NFL backfield. But I would definitely look at Chubb and Dobbins. They're both, in terms of what they are at their best, it's not even close compared to what Washington has in their room. Chubb's best is light years ahead of Brian Robinson Jr. And his best. And I'm really focusing in on that position, the first down back. J.K. Dobbins, his explosiveness, there's nothing that equals that on the roster right now. So I would look at both of those players, and if there's a belief that they could be healthy for the majority of the season and it's not super expensive, I'd bring them in. Let's go to John in Falls Church. John, thanks for holding. Go ahead.
So I don't know if I'm going to say anything that you haven't heard already in these calls, but I think the biggest additions they made for Jaden's sake are going to help the running game the most.
Sure.
This offensive line is going to be so much better, and they might even put him in position to not be playing from behind a bunch or having to score, on big passing plays late in the game. So it could just be one of those situations where now they can run downhill sometimes. They can get behind these big guys, and they don't have to worry about one guy getting hurt, ruining the whole scheme, because they've got some depth now, and really having just like a solid offensive line. They're not going to turn into Jim Harbaugh football where you just run all the time downhill. But it could be that in late in games, like other defenses actually get worn out for a change.
Look, let's not forget, Washington finished as the 3rd best rush offense in total yards in the league last year. The problem with that, of course, is that the quarterback led them in rushing with 891 yards, averaging 6 yards a carry. And you don't mind that with the scramble yardage, and a lot of it is scramble yardage, but a lot of it also is designed runs and option runs. And they were fine as a run team because of the quarterback last year. And Brian Robinson Jr. and Eckler had their moments. Hell, Rodriguez had a moment or two last year. I just think, imagine this offense with a, bell cow, first, second, third down back, but definitely a first and second down back that plays next to Jaden and could end up being a 14 or a 1,500 yard back next year. I mean, with double-digit touchdowns. That now you've got to defend everything in a different way. I think that would be exciting. And I'm not suggesting that Chubb and Dobbins can be those players or would be those players because of health. But when they are healthy, they're better than anything they have on the roster right now. Both of those players are. Let's go to Kurt in Hagerstown. Kurt, thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Kevin, thanks for taking my call, man. Hey,
Sure.
One thing my dad told me a long time ago, running backs are a dime a dozen. 10 out of 12 you find will get the job done. If your offensive line is working right order and your offensive coordinator scheming it up right, I think that we got the right people in the room. We just got to put them in the right position. Robinson needs to be solo, short yardage, goal line type of guy. Bob Merritt's going to get some run. Eckler, I love the way he doesn't go down after the first contact. I think you're going to see maybe 4 or 5 running backs get over 300, 400 yards. And at the end of the season, Daniels is going to lead the team in rushing again. But we're going to be a top 5 rushing offense. And if they work it out right and you slide in some Debo backfield stuff with the new rookie, running sweeps, it's gonna be ugly for fantasy guys in our running back field, but it's gonna look beautiful watching. It's gonna be everybody getting the ball.
It's very possible you're right about that. There's no doubt. And at the same time, what's also true is imagine a high-level running back along with Jaden Daniels for a defensive coordinator to stay up at night trying to game plan
year,
for
man. We already got the left tackle. We got the wide receiver. We hit all these big spots, man. We got, rookie right tackle, rookie corner.
I just want more.
Shutdown. I mean, we can't get it all in one year, Kevin. Come on, man. Let's save a little bit for next year, man. We'll get.
Well, I don't want to save anything. This is the window to try to go win it all, and the draft was loaded with backs, and you've got 2 elite-level talents out there.
Dobbins and Chubby with his broken-ass knee, man. He's had like 17 ACLs, man. Come on, man.
It's not 17.
Those guys are going to be available anytime during the season if we have 5 injuries to our running back field, because we got 5 running backs that I'm sure that Adam Peters sees better than Dobbs and Chubb. Now, I know that's not realistic when you look at the film and when you look at them on the field, but when you talk about them being there every day in practice, being there every day at every game, they're reliable. Chubbs and Dobbs, that's a splash, man. And we need to just go with what we got.
It's not a splash because it would be very inexpensive. But look, you answered the question, and your answer is not unreasonable. That's why I asked the question, because I think there are good arguments on both sides. You think the running back room is good enough, and I
because of the way we run our offense, because of Jaden Daniels. We're scary. We're scary. Whoever you put back there. The key is to keep people healthy.
We're not as scary as we could be, though.
Yeah, we could be if we put them in the right spot, like having Brian Robinson on some of the plays when it should be more of a scat guy. It should be more of an Eckler. The rotation, I think, is very key that people don't notice. There's certain times where you need guys on the outside, and there's certain times when you're like, man,
well, you need them
Robinson's
to both be dressed and active to have that kind of rotation. You need them both dressed and active to have that kind of rotation, which you didn't have for a lot of the games last year because they both missed games last year.
That's true. That's why those guys are going to be on the phones. They'll be calling. They'll be getting ready to call people in. Watch. We'll have big name.
Yeah,
veteran.
I'd like to see them call even before they need to call. That's all, because it's really not going to be a high risk. There's not going to be a lot of risk to signing one of those 2 players if they liked them and thought that they were healthy enough. But your answer is a totally reasonable one. I think the answers to this question are, you can make the case for either or. I would love to see a much better, explosive, dynamic, every down back on this roster. But if they don't have one, it's not that I think they can't be great on offense again. They were great on offense last year with this same running back room, and without Deebo Samuel and without Laramie Tunsil up front. So I already think there's a chance that everything could be more productive this year. Thanks for the call. Good call. Telly, go ahead. Thanks for holding.
Hail to the Redskins. What's up, Kev?
What's up, Telly?
Yeah, man. So I believe they have that. I believe the running back room is a go. Is good to go. I believe with a couple of callers, it's a lot heavy on the scheme. If you put them running backs in the right position, I think they can be problems for not only our division but for the league. I do agree about the shotgun situation. Yes, Henry does run out the shotgun, but he runs out of other formations as well. I think entirely too many times we have Brian Robinson out in the shotgun. I would like him to be out there single or in the pistol or staggered pistol, but not in the shotgun. You have Eckler in the shotgun or another running back. Okay, now you're scheming up something. I wouldn't mind another running back coming in that room. To me, I think the 1 and 2 and 3, it would be Robinson, C-Rod, and then your third man, then Eckler or another running back. But that 1-2, I think definitely C-Rod should have more touches this season. And I think if you give the opportunities to B-Rob, he will shine. But again, you said consistency. It has to be consistency on the offensive coordinator as well.
Mm-hmm.
When running game is working, you have to continue to pound that ball if it's working. I've seen too many times B-Rob to get 10 yards, 15 yards, and then he don't get the ball back until 2 possessions later. So it got to be consistency on both sides. Running back position is a rhythm position. It gets the lineman in rhythm. It gets the running back in rhythm. When them boys are going forward and pounding and crushing people, then you get great offensive pass protection. Hell to the Redskins, brother. You be easy.
Yeah. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. There are a few more of you on hold. Several of you. We'll let you guys weigh in next segment. Then I do want to get to something that we talked about yesterday related to Caitlin Clark. We will do that before the end of the hour. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980 and the team980.com. The big running backs in free agency in terms of money, Najee Harris got 1 year, $5.25 million from the Chargers. Ty Johnson, Terp, re-signed in Buffalo for $5 million for 2 years, $5 million a year. I'm sorry, $5 million total, $2.5 million a year. Samaje Perine signed a 2-year deal to go back to Cincinnati. Javonte Williams from Denver to Dallas, 1 year, $3 million. Rico Dowdle, who actually had some really good games against us, was 1 year, $2.75 million to go to Carolina. And then some of the 49er backs ended up making their ways out of San Francisco, like Elijah Mitchell went to KC, 1 year, $2.5 million. Raheem Mostert, who used to be in San Francisco, ends up with the Raiders at 1 year, $1.6 million. There were a couple of guys that were interesting to me. Javonte Williams would have been interesting to me. But a guy like Khalil Herbert, who was really cheap, not sure he really ever got the best of opportunities in Cincinnati. He is in Indianapolis. But the bottom line is J.K. Dobbins, Nick Chubb, they're getting 1 year, $3 or $4 million deals tops. I mean, that's what it's, and it may be half, incentive laden. All right, let's finish up with some of these calls. I appreciate you guys wanting to get in. 301-230-0980. Is the running back room good enough for a team that really believes and views itself as a Super Bowl contender? And if not, what would you do about it? Let's go to D.C. in Calvert County. D.C., thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Great day, Kevin, man. I'm glad you got yourself together, man. I thought we was going to have to get some CPR to you, brother. You kept talking. I was like, oh, not the voice.
No, it was just like I had a big sip of water and then just down the wrong pipe. Yeah, it happens.
Take your time, brother. Take your time.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I like what you said at the end of the caller that was talking about, how Brian Robinson has to be used right, and Eckler and all of that. Ja'Cory Crosby-Murray is going to be able to fit in well. If we're looking at J.K. Dobbins, that's what Ja'Cory Crosby-Murray can provide to us, that explosiveness, that dynamic.
There are some similarities in running style, but, Dobbins is truly explosive.
Definitely. But you got to remember, he's the younger, healthier version. Now, that's what I'm looking at with JK and Chubb. I remember when you had us calling about Chubb, it was the same thing. I worry about his health. The only way we should get Chubb is if we're going to cut Brian Robinson. But I think with our backfield, we made it to the NFC Championship, and we know that Jaden Daniels was a big part of that. But with this young player that was the Shrine Bowl MVP, and he also proved that he played at 3 different colleges, and even the one game he played at Arizona, he showed his capability, and they sat him down. But he was projected to be a 5th-round draft pick, and I'm looking at it like this. He'll provide something that we don't have.
I hope you're right. But let's not go into 2025 putting all of our hopes at running back on a guy that was selected in the 7th round and was like the 20th running back selected in the draft.
We're not just putting it all on his shoulders. We still have those vets that's there.
Yeah, no,
we know what Robinson can do, and we know what Eckler can do, but I'm saying he's bringing a different dynamic to the running back room that we're looking for, and he has it. You know what I'm saying? We do have to see it on the field, but if you look at it, him and J.K. Dobbins are pretty much carbon copies, but he's the healthier version. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was actually the 25th and final running back taken in the draft. And maybe they struck gold and they threaded the needle. They hit the inside straight with the final running back out of 25 taken in the draft. But I think there's a better chance he's not on the team than he's a significant contributor. In 3 years.
Isn't that one of Adam Peters' things, though, in San Francisco? Remember, San Francisco kept drafting all those back.
Keep in mind, too, that Kyle Shanahan may be the greatest run game offensive coordinator, offensive mind straight from his father's, brain in today's game. So almost anybody seems to be able to plug and play in San Francisco. And yet, what did they do to go out and really try to make a run at winning the Super Bowl? They traded a boatload for Christian McCaffrey. Thanks. Appreciate it. Let's go to Rod in Landover. Rod, go ahead. Rod, you there? No, Rod. Let's go to Bay in D.C. Bay, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, thanks for taking my call. Hey,
Sure,
Kevin, man, to all the callers that keep on talking about these players being injured, they have to realize when we got Zach Ertz, this man hadn't played a full season in I don't know how long. He
It's been a couple years.
And now he got more. Yeah, now he's been rejuvenated and he wants to play football. And also, I think we should add, not J.K. Dobbins, but I do like Nick Chubb. That'll put some more pressure on the running game and make these guys even go better. And I think we can open the field up, especially with Debo in the backfield as well. Thanks for taking my call, Ken.
Yeah, thanks, babe. Appreciate it. Good calls. Running back conversation today. God, there were so many backs in this draft. It's going to be interesting because this was considered to be the deepest running back draft in a while. Now, I had Scott McLuhan on the show last week. He didn't see it that way. He liked Genty. He liked a couple of the guys, but he didn't see it as deep as other draft analysts or maybe even other general managers saw it. But there are a lot of backs when you look at the backs taken on night 2. A guy like, I'm going to be interested to watch a guy like Caleb Johnson in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's had issues with almost everybody running the football in recent years. See Travion Henderson looks like with Drake May in New England, Quinshon Judkins in Cleveland, Hampton in L.A., the Virginia Tech back in Jacksonville. Guys like ETN. I really liked ETN. He's in Carolina. The Cowboys guy, Jaden Blue, is an explosive back. Most of you know I love Damian Martinez. He's in Seattle. Love Taj Brooks. He's in Cincinnati. Devin Neal just seemed like the perfect guy that they would have been interested in drafting. He went in the 6th round to New Orleans. There are going to be some interesting kind of running backs that were drafted this year and see what kind of opportunities they get. That's the position more than any other you can certainly play early, like week 1, and it can pay off for you. Right now, Washington goes in to the season with B-Rob, Eckler, McNichols, Rodriguez, their 7th rounder, Krosky Merritt. They've got Michael Wiley, who I thought actually looked really good in preseason last year. I mean, it's preseason. They got him back, and they've got some guy named Demetric Felton, a running back from UCLA, signed as an undrafted. No, I'm sorry. He's just signed as a free agent. He's played for 4 other teams. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm not discounting the possibility that they add another running back, a Dobbins or a Chubb or somebody like that. And remember, there could be, there's some back situations where somebody may not make a team. I mean, one of our callers suggested that Najee Harris, there have been reports that the Chargers could move on from him after signing him in free agency. I doubt it, just because they drafted Omari and Hampton. The Chargers moved on from J.K. Dobbins, but they have a running back situation out there that includes Hampton and Harris behind Justin Herbert. But, man, it is interesting, right, when you look around the NFC and you look at the level of running backs in the NFC. The elite backs, Barkley, Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, McCaffrey when he's healthy. And then you still have guys like Kyron Williams and Bucky Irving and, Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs. There are a lot of good backs. I mean, I haven't even mentioned a guy that, they signed in the middle of last year and then he got hurt, but Chuba Hubbard was on the verge of becoming, he got paid last year because he had such a great season and was in the midst of another one last year. Ended up getting injured at the end of the year, but still rushed for 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns for a team that wasn't very good. There are just some really good running backs in the NFC. Really good running backs in the NFC. All right. Couple of what do you got when we come back, including what Caitlin Clark did last night, record setting. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980 and the team980.com.
All right. The NFL owners are still deliberating on the tush push, according to Jeremy Fowler. They are still discussing. General session is now over. No formal vote yet. According to Diana Rossini, the NFL Competition Committee and the Players' Health and Safety Committees recommended to ban the tush push early this morning. However, Jason Kelsey and Jeff Lurie spoke on behalf of the Eagles to lobby for the play. They are also expected to vote on a contract extension for Roger Goodell, potentially extending his current deal past 2027. In local news, the Nats take down the Braves 5-3. The Dylan Cruz hit a go-ahead home run to put the Nats up 4-3. He was pulled due to back soreness, and with injuries in the outfield to Jacob Young and Dylan Cruz, Nats GM Mike Rizzo confirmed that Robert Hassel is being promoted today. Rizzo did not specify whether Young or Cruz will be placed on the IL. The Thunder, they come back to beat the Timberwolves in the second half, 114-88. The Knicks and Pacers will play tonight at 8 on the Eastern Conference side, and the Panthers throttle the Carolina Hurricanes 5-2 to lead the series 1-0. Dallas will take on Edmonton tonight at 8. This update is sponsored by the Team 980 YouTube page. Just open the app, type in the Team 980, and hit subscribe. Kevin Sheehan is live from 10 to 1, and Craig Hoffman from 4 to 7. Don't forget to like the stream and turn on notifications to stay up to date on all things DC sports, and that's what's trending.
they put this ball to the goal line at this point?
Well, interestingly enough, you got a situation here. If these are deliberate, and you heard Sean Hockley say that it could lead to an unsportsmanlike conduct call, it could also lead to awarding a score if it happens multiple times like this. So we'll hear what Sean has to say.
Encroachment, defense number 93. Washington has been advised that at some point the referee can award a score if this type of behavior happens again. For now, it's a replay of second down.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, it is to keep this happening. Deliberate acts like that to prevent a score after a warning, even though it's two separate people here, can lead to what is called a palpably unfair act. That's how it's defined in the book. And you can do as a referee whatever you'd actually like to do.
That's why you're the best. Sean Hockley and his crew.
There you go. That was, of course, the scene in the NFC Championship game back in late January of this year. Final vote is in. The Tush Push is staying, as are the other plays that were also part of this rule proposal by the Packers. I think it's important to note that the Tush Push on its own didn't have anywhere near enough votes for it to pass. The Packers revised their proposal, and you had other plays where runners were pushed, pulled, or even lifted. Those were going to be banned also. I actually, on some level, think that those plays should be banned too. You know, the runner that gets held up at the, 6-yard line, and it looks like, you're about to get the whistle for forward progress, and then all of a sudden 3 offensive linemen come in and push him into the end zone. That was going to be a part of this rule, but we'll continue to see all of it. Tush push, runners push, pull, doesn't matter, because the final vote on the proposal to ban the tush push and the other play styles that I just referred to came in at 22 in favor, 10 not in favor. They needed 3/4, 75% of the 32 owners to vote yes on it. They were 2 votes short, according to Adam Schefter. I am curious as to how Washington voted. I've got a few texts out there to see if I can find out. These are votes that do not necessarily get published, but often the voting is, leaked and reported on. Dan Quinn did say when he was asked about it a month and a half, 2 months ago, maybe prior to that first league meeting when it was tabled back in March, he did say, I don't have an opinion on it. I'm just working to try to stop it. That's where we are. It's a good play. We're working on trying to stop it. That's a good position to have as the team right now that is the biggest threat to Philadelphia in the division, if not in the conference, to not necessarily, telegraph your feelings on a play that's been very successful and instrumental in the Eagles winning a lot of football games over the last couple of years. Why give Philadelphia that bulletin board material where Philly can say this team, wanted, the tush push ban? Actually, to be honest with you, from Washington's standpoint, they should have abstained. It doesn't look like they did because it was a 22-10 final vote, according to Adam Schefter. But on some level, them voting yes for it, I don't know. Think of it what you will. I have a feeling they voted no. If they voted yes or no, I have a feeling they voted no on the ban. But I don't know for sure. I'd be interested to find out. So there you go. Schefter's starting to give lists. Schefter will have some of the information. Teams that sided with the Eagles, okay, meaning against it. So the Eagles were one of the 10 votes, included the Ravens, Patriots, Jets, and Lions. So that's 5 of the 10 no votes. The Ravens, Patriots, Jets, notice that 3 of those are AFC teams, but the Lions voted against it as well. See if Schefter gets the other 5 teams. I will monitor that for you. So there you go. Tush push and, pulling and lifting and pushing players all will continue as legal. And what you're really going to get now is you're going to get things like we saw in the NFC Championship game. You have to. Defenses have to get creative. Teams have to consistently also submit the offensive offsides penalties that Philadelphia, at least 1 out of 4 or 5 lines up offsides, and it does not get officiated. This is a scrum play. This is unlike, most plays. It is not just short yardage goal line. It is a true scrum on both sides of the ball. And you get, as we've seen with, line of scrimmage viewpoints, how many times have we seen this, the missed, illegal, the missed false starts, the missed offensive offsides, the missed defensive neutral zone infractions, the missed defensive, offside penalties. We see it so many times, and the play is so bunched up and so scrum-like that for whatever reason, they just let it go. But timing the snap in trying to devastate and blow up the quarterback on this play is one way to stop it. I'm sure other coaches are coming up with ideas. Not that they haven't, in previous seasons. This is not a new play, as we know. I still think, man, Philadelphia and even Buffalo to a certain degree, but Philly, I think they leave a lot of yards out there, man. A lot of yards. But what it allows them to do, because they're so effective on this play, is on 3rd and 10, they only need, something underneath that gets them to within tush push territory. 2nd and 8, you don't need all 8. You need 6 or 7, and then you can go tush push twice in a row. Oof. I don't know. I really wanted to see this thing passed. I really did. But it didn't. And so we move on. And we beat them once out of 3 times. Might have to beat them twice out of 3 times next year. Certainly the 3rd meeting, if there is one, would be the most important of those meetings. 22-10, so they were 2 votes short. Apparently Jason Kelce was there, pitching on behalf of the Eagles with NFL owners to vote no to this thing. So he was there lobbying for the no ban, and maybe he was effective. So today, just if you're just tuning in, man, I can't remember, by the way, honestly, I cannot remember an NFL owners meeting vote on a rule that has had this much attention. I might be missing one, but I can't remember one that's had this much attention. And the other, playoff seeding was pulled by Detroit. They didn't even vote on that one. Yesterday, they voted to allow players to play in the flag football competition in 2028 in LA. Just 1 player per team, though. That seemed to be big news. I don't know. It's hard for me to get excited about flag football and 2028 training camp players that may be, a day or 2 late to camp. I know that there's an injury possibility in flag football too. I get it. So they got close. It was 16-16 when they tabled it back in March, but they came back with a much more comprehensive rule change. The Packers did, and it ended up being 2 votes short of passing. If you want to weigh in on this, 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. Tush push and associated runs where you can push running backs from behind or even pull them forward. That will continue to be legal in the NFL. Your reaction, if you want to weigh in, are you okay with it? Do you think they should have passed this proposal banning it? 301-230-0980. We'll take your calls when we come back. I do want to tell you about the opportunity that Window Nation is offering right now. If you want to beat the summer heat with energy efficient windows, my recommendation is Window Nation. Their windows are built to keep your house cool during hot summer days. They've got some of the best energy efficient windows out there. Their windows frequently outperform and outlast the ones from the expensive guys. They're made right here in the USA. You can make a smart investment now and save money for years to come on utility bills by installing new Window Nation windows. And right now, in addition to their normal free estimate when you call them at 866-90-NATION or go to windownation.com, their normal lifetime warranty on all windows. How about 4 free windows with every 4 purchased with no payments for 2 years? That's right. You'll get 4 windows free for every 4 purchased, and you don't have to worry about down payments. You don't have to worry about payments at all with no interest charged until the year 2027. If you buy a house full of windows, they'll give you a free entry door. Go with the company that has the best product, the best deal, and the best customer service. They've got over 45,000 5-star reviews, and they were recently ranked highest on Forbes' list of best window installation companies. You can trust Window Nation for high-quality, affordable windows with great customer service. The sale ends soon. Call them now, 866-90-NATION, or head to windownation.com.
You can't keep getting away with it!
All right. The proposal did not pass. The Tush Push proposal, the proposal to disallow pushing, pulling, lifting any runner at any time on a football field. It got close. The final tally was 22-10 in favor, but they needed 24. You need 3/4, 75% of owners to vote yes. I mentioned that Adam Schefter is getting, a lot of the information. Maybe there's more information from somebody else out there, but he's put out there that in addition to the Eagles, the Ravens, Patriots, Jets, and Lions all voted no, but there were another 5 no votes as well. I'm curious to find out how Washington voted. They certainly did not want to discuss the Tush Push. Quinn didn't. We did hear from Frankie Louvu, who said he thought it should be banned. We heard that the other day on Tell the Truth Monday when he was on with Good Morning America. All right, what do you think? Just reaction to one of the bigger rule change votes in recent memory in the NFL. I would have voted no. I would have voted no for the reasons that I've stated before, but I'll state them again in case you've missed them. Number one, I don't like the play. I think it looks like anything but a football play. It looks very much like a rugby scrum play. I think pace of play is an issue. When I say pace of play, I'm not talking about, oh my God, the game's ground to a halt and it's holding things up, although it can with penalties like we saw in the NFC Championship game. I just think it's a play in which, they hated the extra point. They got rid of the extra point. It was a play that produced no action whatsoever. And I'm not saying that the Tush Push doesn't create action and isn't effective and important on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. But when you see Philadelphia line up on 3rd and 2 and run it, and then on 4th and 1 and run it, that is a boring stretch of a minute 20, a minute 10 of football. I don't personally like it. I know that there's no data that suggests that it's an unhealthy play, but man, is it officiated poorly. I mean, offsides, false starts, neutral zone infractions, just so many, rules violations that for whatever reason, both sides, defense and offense, gets away with on this play because they're just so bunched up. It's hard, I guess, for them to officiate it. Lastly, I think we're going to start seeing why we didn't see this before, what Washington did in the NFC Championship game. But we have to see defenses try to get creative and really try to take the quarterback out to really send a message. We don't want you running this play. If you run this play, we are going to punish you. But they've been running it for 3 years now, and he hasn't really been punished running it. And there have been attempts to really be more physical. But who knows? Maybe in 2025, we'll see Philadelphia awarded a touchdown after multiple offsides penalties. Robert in Annapolis, go ahead.
Hey, good morning. Actually, don't you mean you would have voted yes? Wasn't it the yes votes that would have?
Yes, I would have voted yes on banning the Tush Push and the associated, pushing, pulling. Yeah, sorry if I said that incorrectly.
I heard you say you would have voted no, so I wasn't sure how the word.
I would have voted yes. I wanted it out.
All right, but that's my point, what you just mentioned. How do you think that vote would have gone had the officials awarded a touchdown against Washington in that game? How do you think that would? Can you imagine that in a NFL game where the officials actually award a touchdown rather than a team?
You know what,
score it?
Robert? Great point. I mean, I thought just the announcement of that they could do it would get. I think that may have been a big reason why we got to the point where we got to. But to your point, if they actually did award the touchdown, maybe there would have been 24 votes.
Yeah. And I've always been one that, and maybe this is because how the rule was forever in my earlier years, that you couldn't assist a ball carrier in his forward progress. But
it used to be a rule.
I know, and they say this thing, it was hard to officiate. How is that more difficult to officiate than a receiver or a defender going downfield and sort of banging on each other going for the ball? I mean, is that offensive pass interference or defensive pass interference? You can say this same thing at the line of scrimmage. Is that defensive guy holding him to get to the quarterback, or the offensive guy holding him? That was a silly excuse that they gave. You can usually see when there was assisting it, but anyhow, you got to go play with whatever the rules are, and that's what they decided. So I guess we'll have to go with it. You mentioned when Washington beat Philadelphia. Keep in mind, in that game, they didn't have to worry too much about it because Hurts got hurt in that game early on. So you guys will have to deal with that.
That was the second game here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but they did take.
Thanks.
All right, there you go.
Appreciate it. Bud in Salisbury. Go ahead, Bud.
Yes. Good afternoon, Kevin. I think Green Bay was very smart in revising that proposal because ball carrier getting pushed along. Could you imagine in the 70s and 80s, Earl Campbell pushed for extra yardage and stuff from offensive linemen? Earl Campbell ran over safeties by himself. Could you imagine extra help from offensive linemen doing it? Also, the injury factor is a factor because if running backs get stopped by a safety or a cornerback, all it takes is one or two offensive linemen to have a cornerback or safety fall backwards and tear an ACL or MCL. I thought an injury, designation or something like that could have put it over the top as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the rewritten proposal gave it a better shot. I don't know what the injury data is on the non-tush push part of the rule, but we do know that the tush push play, there's been a lot of data on it, and it doesn't appear to be a high-risk play. Oh, we lost him. Let's go to Scott in Charlotte. Scott, thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, I'm actually in Minnesota driving to the airport right now, but I've enjoyed the conversation, and I don't really care one way or the other if it's in or not. I think eventually teams are going to do like what you said. They're going to figure out a way to punish those quarterbacks, and that'll slow people down from doing it.
They haven't so far.
My question for you, they haven't so far, but they will, because it doesn't matter. Defenses always figure out ways to stop various plays, so they'll figure out something. But my question for you is, remember, and I'm a little bit older than you, but I can remember when guys like Peyton and others, running backs would just fly over the line, and then the Bears threw in the wrinkle of having the fridge run them in too. So you didn't know, are you going to get Walter flying over the top or the fridge smashing through us? How come we don't see running backs flying over the top anymore? Was it an injury thing?
I think we still see it occasionally. But yeah, just the beginning of the NFL today with, Brent Musburger, and the first shot is Walter Payton flying over the line of scrimmage in the 70s. Yeah, we still see backs, go airborne, but I've said this many times the last few weeks. I think Philadelphia is leaving a lot of offensive yardage on the field when they run the tush push. With Saquon Barkley in that offensive line, when you get that crowded, that short yardage situation, you get more explosive runs off of that 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 than you do on 1st and 10. But at the same time, you're risking not keeping the football and needing to punt. So there is that exchange of risk reward. But don't you guys think that if Saquon Barkley got the 3rd and 1s and the 4th and 1s more than the tush push, that there would be a lot of additional big plays during the course of a Philadelphia season? Let's go to Aaron. Aaron's also calling. We have a lot of people calling from Charlotte today. Aaron's from Charlotte. Our last caller was in Minneapolis, but Aaron, go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, Kevin?
What's up, Aaron?
Two issues that I have is, first, that by keeping the play, you're allowing the offense to do something that by rule the defense can't do to stop it, and that's being able to push players. So if you're going to keep the play, you have to adjust the rules to allow the defense.
Well, what do you mean you can't push players on defense? You mean you can't push? Oh, right. You can't push a linebacker into the line of scrimmage.
Right.
That's
exactly.
That isn't that only on special teams plays? On
my understanding is no. It's on any play, but you're not. But we can check the rule book. But my understanding is the defense isn't allowed to push the defensive lineman on that play, and so therefore it's not a mano-a-mano play anymore. And so that's my first problem. The second problem is fine. If you're going to keep the tush push, you have to put pressure on these officials to call the game straight on the offensive linemen when they're leaning in the neutral zone, trying to get extra leverage for the push. So many times when they run this play, they'll line up in the neutral zone or different things like that. And it's allowed. So again, if you're going to allow this play, then you need to adjust the rules and call it strictly so that the defense can do what they need to do to stop the play. Because right now everyone's talking about, defense get creative to stop it. Right now, there's technically nothing you can do to stop it because you can't push. And you've already told me that if we get creative by trying to time the snap count or something like that, you can award a score. So what are you expecting the defense to do outside of saying keep Philly from getting to 3rd and 4 and shorter? That's not really, it has to be fair on both sides.
Yeah, I'm looking for the rule. I think you're right, but I would ask you, would there be a benefit to line up, let's just say, a linebacker or even another big defensive lineman behind a defensive lineman that's lined over the center and have them pushed?
I would. It's hard because there's still the scare of the fake. And I think I saw them run the fake one time last year, out of it too. So I don't know. It's just the fact that right now you're allowing 2 to potentially even 3 players be able to push the ball carrier in that spot. But the defense is only allowed basically to have your, defensive linemen and your linebackers crash the line of scrimmage, but nobody can push.
I see the rule right now. Defenses, in a normal scrimmage play are not allowed to push each other. So I'd like to see some balance there. I'm with you on that. For me, the bottom line is the core issue for me is that it just isn't a football play. I'd rather see a traditional quarterback sneak. I'd rather see a running back. I'd rather see play action and a throw. It's like, I know it's, less than 1% of all plays run during the course of a season, understood, but it's a play that gets highlighted, and it's a play that, by the way, keeps the football 87% of the time for Philadelphia when they run it. And I don't like it. It doesn't look like a football play to me, but to your point, it's a good one. There should be more assistance given to the defense. And God forbid, I think Robert in Annapolis is right. You almost, 55-23, they scored a touchdown on that drive anyway, right? Didn't they? Washington didn't hold them to a field goal. They ended up scoring a touchdown there. It would have almost been, in hindsight, better had the referees been forced to award Philadelphia the touchdown. Good God, that would have been an all-timer. Little, go ahead.
What's going on, Kim? Thank you for taking my call. Shout out to Mad Max. Hey, look, Kim, I only played high school ball. The way I look at these grown-ass men, supposed to be Pro Bowl football guards, tackles, tight ends. Come on, dogs. Y'all should be, if you got a pillow on your back, prove to all pro that you don't need help to do your job. That's how I look at it. And I'm going to say it again. I repeated it yesterday. The Eagles line of 2025, 24, 26 moving forward can't carry the Hogs jock strap. You heard it from Little. Hogs ain't never need nobody to assist them to do their job. They can't carry the Hogs jock strap. All y'all Philly fans out there clapping. Hell with the tush push. Why the hell you need some help to do your job? Be a Pro Bowl. Stand up and say, "No, we don't need the proof. We don't need the tush push. We want to prove we can move this pile on our own back, on our pillar standards."
Well, they got they got the benefit
y'all
of everything going on that play. They've got a great offensive line. They had, a Hall of Fame center leading it. They got a running back who, from the waist down might be the strongest running back leg-wise we've ever seen. And then he's getting pushed through forward. Yeah. All right, Little. Thanks, man. Appreciate the call. When we come back, quick, what do you got on Caitlin Clark? She did something last night that was record-breaking. Also, coming up, a conversation that I had with a gentleman who wrote a book called The Top 100, as in the top 100 golfers of all time. It's very interesting, some of the rankings that he came up with. I think you'll enjoy it. That's coming up before the end of the show as well. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980 and the Team980.com. Caitlin Clark last night in a 91-90 loss in a WNBA game to the Dream, the Atlanta Dream, went for, in the game, 25 points, 27 points, 11 assists, and 5 rebounds. She became the second player in the history of the game to have 10 20-point, 10-assist games. Courtney Vandersloot has the most 20-point, 10-assist games in league history with 10, and Caitlin Clark tied that. In just over a year of playing in this sport, she now has 10 20-point, 10-assist games. That's not in like she's on pace to become the all-time 20, 10-assist, leader. That is where she is now. Okay? A 28-year history in this league, 28, 29 years, and only one player has had 10 2010 games, Courtney Vandersloot. Now it's 2. Her next one will set the record. She's good. She's really, really good. Also, real quickly, this from William. William wrote, different subject. 3 division games, your worst idea ever. Everything in moderation, Kevin. Live and let live. Thank you, William. By the way, Chuck wrote, first the mock schedule, and now the idea of playing 3 division games. So, William, by the way, everything in moderation, live and let live, good idioms. But what about familiarity breeds contempt? And contempt we like in the NFL. I suggested yesterday that when they go to 18 games to ensure that the division games don't get minimized even more, and it would become a third of the games played. You play 6 twice a year. Why not go to 3 division games a year and make the division games be half of the schedule? 9 games out of 18, and you just rotate. One year you play 2 at home against Dallas, 1 on the road, and the next year you play 2 on the road in Dallas and 1 at home. And you just, you do the 4-team rotation. Some of you like the idea. Some of you, like William, hated the idea. All right, when we come back, Michael Arkush has a New York Times bestseller called The Golf 100. Top 100 golfers in the history of the game. He'll join me next.
All right, you heard it first. The Tush Push, unfortunately, here to stay. The Jason Kelce and Jeff Lurie spoke for over 30 minutes to lobby for the play, and unfortunately, it passed 22-10. The owners were also expected to vote on a contract extension for Roger Goodell, potentially extending his current deal past 2027. The Nats, they took down the Braves 5-3. Dylan Cruz hit the go-ahead home run to lift the Nats over the Braves, then was pulled due to back soreness that he's been dealing with for about a week, according to Mike Rizzo. Now, with the injuries in the outfield to Jacob Young and Dylan Cruz, Nats GM Mike Rizzo confirmed that Robert Hassel III is being promoted today. He did not specify whether Young or Cruz would be placed on the IL. The Thunder, they came back in the second half to beat the Timberwolves 114-88. Tonight, the Knicks and Pacers will take each other on in the Eastern Conference at 8 p.m. The Panthers, they throttle the Carolina Hurricanes 5-2 to take the lead in the series 1-0. Dallas will take on Edmonton tonight at 8. This update is sponsored by the Team 980 YouTube page. Just open the app, type in the Team 980, and hit subscribe. Kevin Sheehan is live from 10 to 1, and Craig Hoffman from 4 to 7. Don't forget to like the stream and turn on notifications to stay up to date on all things DC sports. And that's what's trending.
we're going to hold off on that golf interview for another time. If you like golf, it was excellent with Michael Arkush. Excellent author. Has written so many good books. But we're going to stick with the breaking news of the day, which is this Tush Push voted, did not, the banning of the Tush Push did not pass. But an interesting tweet just 2 minutes ago from Mark Maskey. Maskey was on with us 2 days ago, and Maskey said it was a coin flip as to whether or not it would pass. He wasn't about to make a guess. He thought it would be very, very close. And he was right. And he also said about the seating proposal that he did not think that would pass and would be something that they'd look at down the road when they have an 18-game schedule. He just tweeted out just a couple of minutes ago. Listen to this. The owners are back in the meeting room for their privileged session with one owner per team plus family members. According to a source, there could be more talk about the Tush Push in that session. It's not clear what that would mean after the earlier failure to pass the ban. Refresh the timeline. Here's 27 seconds ago. Thank you, Max. Another source confirms the owners were expected to have further discussions about the Tush Push during the privilege session that's taking place now. But that source expressed doubt that there would be a few extra votes picked up to ratify the proposed ban. I do think it's interesting, don't you, that they voted, the votes are in, the proposal did not pass, Tush Push continues, but they're continuing to talk about it, and maybe they will discuss another option. Maybe the votes picked up to ratify might not be there today, but maybe it's another tabling of the situation. The other thing, too, and I talked about this earlier in the show, what the hell's Jason Kelsey doing there pitching, owners, a future Hall of Famer? Is that typical for a rules vote?
It feels very weird.
I'm sorry?
It feels very weird. Like, I can't remember a time where a player, let alone a player like this is closely associated to a play and a team, is coming out to lobby for it at the last minute, like right before they vote.
Yeah. I'm still trying to find out how Washington voted. Adam Schefter reported 5 teams that voted no. Those teams were the Eagles, Ravens, Patriots, Jets, and Lions. Just trying to find out and get information on how Washington voted. I'm just interested to see how Washington voted on it. If you want to weigh in, we'll open phone lines again at 301-230-0980. As of now, and perhaps for the foreseeable future, meaning into next season, the proposal to ban the Tush Push and other plays where runners are aided with a push or a pull, the proposal to ban that failed today. They needed 24 votes. They got 22 votes, too short of ratification, which means, as of now, although the Maskey tweets are interesting, as of now, that rule is going to, continue to be, they can do it. And if you want to weigh in, 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. We'll see. Let me just say, this is going to be a discussion moving forward until it is banned. I mean, if this will be another conversation next year, unless Philadelphia stops running it, or unless there is an answer to it, a defensive answer to it, which, doesn't seem to be likely. It's not like last year was the first year. Last year was year 3 of the Tush Push. Year 3 of it. And I think, on some level, it's like I wish more teams had been successful doing it. If more teams had been successful doing it, I think it would have been easier to get those 2 additional votes. I think part of the no votes on banning it is because it did seem very much directed towards one team, primarily the Eagles. And nobody likes to see one team, no matter how obnoxious that team's fan base is, and no matter how good that team is. They just won the Super Bowl, and they've been a good team here in recent years. Nobody likes to see one team singled out like that. Not in a competitive situation. It's like, really? How about you just figure out a way to stop it? Well, you're not helping us stop it by not allowing defensive players to be pushed into the line of scrimmage. That's a tough thing to do, by the way. You start taking players and putting them behind defensive tackles and pushing. First of all, they become less of tacklers. Secondly, you start getting too many of those players right in that area, and a little play action whoopsie-doo play here it comes the other way. And we've seen them trick, on the tush push as well. But yeah, if you want to weigh in, 301-230-0980. Tush Push alive and well heading into 2025, although owners are gathering together for their what they call privileged session, as Maskey writes. And one source tells him that they will continue discussions about the Tush Push, but that source expressed doubt that there would be a few extra votes picked up to ratify the proposed ban. All right, Vic in Southeast. Vic, go ahead.
Hey, how you doing?
What's up, Vic?
You hear me?
I got you.
All right. Hello?
I got you, Vic.
No, it's Zeke. But anyway, I was always...
okay. I'm sorry. It's in here as Vic. What is it, Zeke?
Yeah.
I said Vic.
What's up, Zeke? You're on.
I had answered this before, and the guy accused me of being a Philadelphia fan, but I'm not. Hey, the Eagles came up with a play that works almost 90% of the time. It's on the defense to stop it. Okay, now some people say it's illegal, but here's what I would do if I was a defensive coordinator. I would have both of my linebackers, once they stop and start to push, go for the quarterback's head. Then they'll eliminate the daggone tush push forever. I would just go after the quarterback. Every time they try to push him, both of my middle linebackers, boom, we're hitting them, targeting him. They can call it whatever, but if they're going to push, then we should be able to go in and do whatever we want as well. That's my thought.
I know, but Zeke, this is year 3. Teams have been trying to go after him and trying to get to him over and over again. Nothing's worked so far. Not to mention the defense, as a caller pointed out earlier, is at a disadvantage because they're not allowed to push themselves. And then we've seen this from the line of scrimmage camera viewpoint. They cheat on 50% of these plays. They line up off sides. There is occasionally a false start that gets overlooked. And at the same time, defenses line up in the neutral zone all the time. Defenses have tried to do everything they can do to stop it, including cheating themselves, but it's just not happening. I mean, Cincinnati and a couple of other teams got a few stops, but it's hit at an 87% rate for them.
Right. And then that's why I say you got to approach it differently. I think I watch most of the Eagles games, and the way they do it is most defenses try to get as lower than them. No, you just got to go over the top, and that's the way you stop it, all right? Because what happens is if you go over the top and just aim for the quarterback, he's either eventually going to get hurt or they're going to stop running it. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, the problem with that, of course, is to even make contact, you have to time the snap perfectly. If not, you're offsides, or if you don't time it perfectly, he's ducked under the leap over the line of scrimmage, and he's already gotten leg push for a first down. So anyway, thanks for the call. It's an interesting thing to kind of see the reaction to this right now, because it really is, I think, the most action and the most reaction to a rule change vote that we've seen in a long time. Somebody might be able to remind me of something else that reached these levels, but there you go. 10 teams voted to keep this going, voted against the proposal. 22 teams voted for the proposal. No information yet that I've gotten on how Washington voted for this thing. 301-230-0980 if you want to weigh in. Phone lines are open. The Tush Push looks like it's going to continue. Look, here's a good part of this thing. We're not going to have to deal with it until late December. We don't play the Eagles until December 20th. We get them twice over the final 3 weeks of the season, and we don't play the Bills. And there are no other real Tush Push teams, right? For the most part. I don't want to. Here's a question, too. Would you like to see Washington sort of become a Tush Push team with Jaden? I don't want to see that. Jaden's not built like Jalen Hurts. He's not built like Josh Allen. I'd rather see zone read and Jaden, with a, reading a defensive end and either giving the ball or keeping it and having big play potential. And again, the Eagles can continue to run it and keep possession of the ball, which of course is huge in so many ways. But I think they miss out on a lot of big play opportunities. I think they really do. All right. Let's move on to something else today. I had suggested yesterday, and I read some of these emails, a little while ago, just about the idea of 3 division games for, when they go to an 18-game schedule. What is interesting in looking at the schedule that came out last week is just how bunched up Washington's division games are. They're playing 4 of their 6 division games in the final 4 weeks of the season. And we had Mike North, the schedule maker, on the show back in mid-April, and he talked about, the emphasis, and we're now on like year 15, maybe even year 20 of the NFL deciding, that the season should end with division games. There was a time where you didn't necessarily end the season with division games. You could have, but it wasn't based on rule. Now everybody ends with a division game. But I was looking to see about the other 3 teams in the division. The Cowboys finish with Vikings, Chargers, Washington, Giants. The Giants finish with Washington, Minnesota, Raiders, Dallas. And then Phillies finish, and who knows what the standings look like at that point. Raiders, Washington, and then the game in between their rematch with Washington in the season finale at home. How about at Buffalo? Philly's schedule, just in terms of viewing it right now, looks like one of the hardest schedules in the history of the game. Cowboys, Chiefs, Rams, Bucks to start. Then maybe a slight, Broncos, Giants, Vikings, Giants. And then Packers, Lions, Dallas, Chicago, Chargers. Then they get the Raiders, and then they finish with Washington, Buffalo, Washington. Yeah. So you never know what it'll look like when it gets to the end of it. Alex wants to weigh in. Alex and Wheaton, go ahead.
Hey, Kev. Since they reconfigured the kickoff, and that led to, probably unintentionally but unavoidably, led to the situation now where if you're going to do an onside kick, you got to declare it. There's no deception involved anymore, which I don't like in isolation, but I understand why they had to do it because of what they did with the regular kickoff.
Yeah, because of the formation.
I think that this play should also be something that you must declare and run if you line up that way. I don't like the idea that you can fake out of it because of what it forces the defense to do to try to stop it. And I will further say this: if they would have to declare it, then and they're allowed to, do the push that stays. Then I think once it's declared, I think the defense should be able to link arms. I mean, it turns the whole thing into a joke, but I think that's only fair.
Man, you are really setting a precedent there on a line of scrimmage play where you've got to declare what you're doing. I mean,
why not?
Deception's
like
a big part of the game.
Do you like the idea that you can fake out of that play?
Look, if the play is legal, I'd want my team to, if my team were successful running it, to try to utilize the way the defense has to align to try to even have a shot at stopping it. Sure, I just hate the play. So I mean, I think you and I are in agreement. I hate the play. Period. It just doesn't strike me as a football play. Like I want to see a running back get the ball. I want to see him go play action. I want to see a traditional quarterback sneak. I don't want to see an in-motion tight end stop behind the quarterback and use his 6'6", 250-pound frame to push the strongest running back in the game forward for a yard or two. I mean, by the way,
let me just say something. I'll say one more thing about this vote here. I think maybe part of the reason that you didn't mention why it failed is because of what they're voting on is not just this one play. It's also plays down the field where a runner could be propped up by their teammates when they're trying to be tackled, pushed forward, whatever. It involves other things.
Yeah, but actually, Alex, that's what got the additional 6 votes. Because when they were just voting on the Tush Push in March, they only had 16 votes. So the Packers went back and added some of these other plays, which actually have been a problem with the league. They don't like the runner getting pushed, 5 yards into the end zone when the runner seems to be stopped at the 5-yard line. And it used to be a rule that just went unenforced. That you couldn't push or pull a runner. So they added to that, and I think that actually helped them get close to getting it passed.
From a health and safety standpoint, I can see that. From a play calling standpoint, that's more of just a natural development on the field. It's not this.
It hasn't been in recent years. I think there's been more of an emphasis for offensive linemen to run down the field with a runner, and a runner realizes if he can just stay up and just, prevent forward progress being stopped, he's about to get some assistance. I don't think we used to see that as much as we have in the last few years.
Possibly. All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. That part of the Green Bay proposal is why they got an additional 6 votes. And I think that play, there probably should have been more data provided. I haven't seen it on whether or not that play is actually an injury risk. Because I think when you get a big 6'6", 360-pound lineman barreling into the back of a running back, pushing him into 4 defensive guys, that probably has a greater risk of injury on that play than the tush push itself. Let's see. A bunch of tweets coming out of this. Eddie, why on earth do you think we would vote against it? Against the ban, I think is what you're saying. Because I don't think Washington wanted to be a team that Philadelphia would be able to point to and say, they're one of the teams that voted against us doing this. They couldn't figure out a way to stop it, so they had to vote for a rule to ban it. I think it's just bulletin board material. I mean, I think that's why Quinn handled the answer he gave to it a couple of, like a month ago before the vote in the last league meetings down in Palm Beach. I don't know how Washington voted, but if you're saying, well, we should have voted we should have voted for the ban. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Take away a very effective play from your arch rival. Understood. This from hold on. This from Rocky. Tush Push. I don't think it needs to be banned, but how can it be made fair for the defense. Yeah, I think one of our callers pointed it out, and that is the defense should be able to also push, aid some of their own players on defense, and currently you're not allowed to push a defensive player. Now, I still wonder, what does that mean? Do you get linebackers or safeties behind the big defensive linemen, pushing them into the center, pushing them into the quarterback? Maybe that helps. Maybe it doesn't. I mean, you typically see everybody kind of bunched up right in that A gap anyway to try to stop it. And they just haven't been able to do it. Yeah. What else did you guys write here? Bengals stopped the push. This from Vienna Jeff. Bengals stopped the push twice consecutively last year. Get across the line, and they pulled Hurts sideways. They also lost that game big, right? Not the point. Understood. From Bird, NFL won't stop until the entire rule book is built to hinder only defenders. Yeah, there is some truth to that. I mean, I really thought that there should have been more consideration given to, I forget who proposed it. We talked to Maskey about this the other day, making illegal contact or defensive holding just a 10-yard penalty, but not an automatic first down. But no, these rules typically are in there to benefit the offense. Yeah, all right. Jojo wants to weigh in. Jojo, go ahead.
Taking my call. Eliminating a player getting pushed by another player, a ball carrier getting pushed by another player wouldn't eliminate the tush push per se, because they don't always have the running back really pushing on Hurts. They just line up two tight ends beside him. So it wouldn't have really eliminated the play. And I'm
not sure what you're talking about. I think maybe you misunderstood the actual proposal. It wasn't about running backs pushing Jalen Hurts. It's about running backs getting pushed by other players anywhere on the field to aid them in a run. Right. You know, like when you see a runner get stopped at the 5-yard line, but they haven't blown the whistle, and then you see offensive linemen come in, push them into the end zone. That was part of the rule as well. They wanted those plays banned.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I don't think it got banned because an offensive lineman's not going to come run into the running back with his shoulder. He's going to run with his hands up and try and push him. So that's where the injuries don't really play a factor there.
Oh, okay. Is that what you're saying? My fault.
The way it was worded, I don't think it would really eliminate the tush push per se. It would make Philly modify it.
How would they, if the rule had been voted and passed on, how would they have modified it?
Because normally they have like two tight ends and a running back behind Jalen Hurts, and then they all three push the middle. So the running back pushes Jalen Hurts' back. So he's technically pushing the ball carrier. But if you just have two tight ends beside Jalen Hurts and not a running back behind him pushing, that rule that they just voted on wouldn't affect the tush push really.
Well, what would the tight ends be doing? Because the tight ends would not be able to assist the runner other than blocking.
Well, they would push on the guards back. That's not technically assisting the runner because you're not touching them.
So interesting. So you think that they would have lined up behind the two guards and pushed the guards forward, and you're right, that would not have been an outlawed play.
They line up in both A gaps. And
maybe that would have worked. Maybe that would have also been a way for that play to work. But I think people would have been okay with that. I think it's the pushing of the ball carrier that's been the issue.
Right. Okay, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, sure, JoJo. Brandon, go ahead.
Hey, long-time listener, man. I think I like the idea of the tush push, but defensively, I don't think it's not fair to the defense. You know, this may sound weird, but just imagine if you were to, a defensive player were to not get a sack, but pick the guy, the receiver, whoever had the ball up and just take him back a few yards. That'd be a necessary roughness, wouldn't it?
Wait, say that again. Sorry.
Does that make sense?
Say it again.
I don't have a problem with the tush push.
Okay.
Except for the fact defensively, you can't defend it.
Right.
And I look at it from the aspect of picking up a defensive guy, picking up whoever has the football and just like take them back a couple yards, instead of like a sack. Does that make sense?
Well, they can do that. You can tackle the ball carrier and push him back behind the line of scrimmage all you want.
Him, you can't pick him up and then move it. Does that make sense?
Why not?
I think that's illegal. I mean,
what to lift the ball carrier in the air and move him backwards? I mean, you can't slam him to the ground after that. That would be unnecessary roughness, but you can certainly, take them and lift them and move them backwards to stop their progress, to tackle them. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
you got to get to him. To stop the tush push, you actually have to get to the quarterback. It's like the reason the play doesn't get stopped is because you got a big center, you got two guards, and you got a big tight end, sometimes a tight end and somebody else pushing him forward. And, it's too much force for, a defensive alignment to stop most of the time. Thanks, Brandon, though, for the call. Appreciate it. All right. Well, whatever. It's here. Let's go beat them. We don't have to play them until December 20th, and maybe somebody will have come up with a way to stop the play. Let's root for an awarded touchdown at some point, so the thing gets ridiculous and then has to be voted on. I would follow like this on Twitter because it does sound like the owners are still talking about it. I don't know what that means. Maskey, NFL owners voted during the just completed privilege session not to ban the tush push. There were 22 votes in favor of the ban to 10 against, 2 shy of the 24 needed for approval. The earlier informal vote was 23-9 or 22-10, that source says. So it looks like there's nothing that's going to come out of that privilege session. All right. See everybody. I'm off for a few days. I'll be back in about a week. See ya.